Kentucky. That's the very center of the state. It's a great area for making bourbon, and our family's been there since the late 1700s and making whiskey the entire time. So it's just I'm pleased to be involved in it now as well.
You have quite a legacy to live up to.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
So
so.
Do you want me to talk a little bit about the distillery, and then we can go into the tasting, or how would you like? Okay.
Yeah, please. Yeah, please. You take it on from here. Yeah.
Okay. So my brother and I started Limestone Branch in 2011, and but like I said, our family goes back to the late 1700s in Kentucky making bourbon. So, we opened up the distillery, did a lot of clear spirits in the beginning. We always made bourbon, and that was always our goal, was to make bourbon. And in 2015, we partnered with a company called Luxco, which was a bottler at that time. They've since opened the distillery, but they actually owned an old family brand of ours, which I wanted to become involved with. So we formed a partnership, and Yellowstone came to Limestone Branch. And so we'll be tasting that a little bit later on tonight. But Yellowstone goes back to 1872. It's actually my mother's side of the family with the Dants, J.W. Dant, who started distilling in 1836 when his oldest son started Yellowstone. So both sides of the family are involved in liquor, and both sides were involved in Yellowstone. So my grandfather, Beam, was the master distiller there in the early 1900s. His brother-in-law was the owner of the company. So it's been associated with our family for a long time, and I was really happy to bring it back into our family as the steward. And I look at it, when you have a brand that is 150 years old this year, it's our 150th birthday. You're just a steward for a moment in time, and so I hope that I hand off the brand in better shape than what I found it. And it was named after the park, and like I said, we're 150 years old this year. So we're going to be doing the tasting of our whiskey portfolio tonight, which we have our minor case rye whiskey, and then our expressions of Yellowstone. So if you'd like to start off with our minor case. So minor case is a 2-year rye, and it's a lighter rye. It's 51% rye, 45% corn, and then 4% malt. So there's a high corn ratio to rye. It's almost a high rye bourbon, but it is a rye whiskey because of the 51% rye. And 2 years old. We take it after 2 years, dump it, and then it goes into a sherry cask. And it's the sherry is actually an American cream sherry, which I think we're the only distillery that's ever used a cream sherry, and it's from Myers Winery in Cincinnati. It's an award-winning cream sherry. It was actually John F. Kennedy's favorite after-dinner drink, that sherry. So we use that to finish the barrels, and they're in the barrel for about between 4 and 6 months, and depending on if it's a first fill or second fill. But with that, you're going to get, with the minor case, you get the sherry really comes across on the nose. You get those dark fruit note, dried fruit notes that you wouldn't get in a rye. And I think it's really nice that it's balanced between the spiciness of the rye and a little bit of the heat from the rye, and then you get a little bit of the sweetness for me that comes in on the end of the palate from the sherry cask. So everybody enjoy, and we can talk about it.
I actually pick up a sweet, spicy cinnamon smell on the nose, right after the first drink. I mean, I didn't pick it up right away until I took my first sip. But then after that, it seems like I'm picking that up. But that's just me.
Yeah, there's some spice there on the nose, and I get definitely those sherry notes as well that come across. And that for me, the sherry notes come across on the nose a little bit stronger than they do on the palate. Which
I catch the sherry right up front on the palate.
Yeah.
As I've told you before, the thing I like is the finish does not overpower the rye. The finish does not overpower. It's so well, yeah.
Right.
And I have to admit, I'm not a rye fan, but this is not offensive at all.
Yeah.
I have to enjoy this. It actually tastes good. It goes down well. I like it.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a like I said, 51% rye. It's not most ryes out there are at least 75 to 95% rye, and some of them can be pretty astringent actually, especially if they're not well aged. But with this one being just 51% rye, and then you get the sweetness of the corn, and then that additional sherry notes really help. It makes a drink a lot older than a 2-year whiskey.
Yeah, I think you got the proof right on this one, because you do pick up that corn sweetness with it, and it's not so hot, that a lot of ryes are now with the higher proofs and stuff like that. I think this one, you pick up a lot more notes than you would on the hotter ones. I think.
I was going to say
it's a nice, smooth drinker.
Yeah, I think a lot of flavor and very. I think it's pretty complex for a 90 proof. Sometimes the 90 proofs are kind of vanilla. I've been drinking a lot of the heavier barrel proof stuff, and I think you're right that this is really good at 90 proof.
Right. Yeah. A lot of them at 90, I think, just are very watered down and just overly watered down. Very thin. This one doesn't have. It's a little more complex. It's not quite as thin. It's more of a medium body. I think. It's nice.
We pay a finish. Go ahead.
Oh, and the finish is nice. It's a medium finish. Pure. I mean, it really slides down well. I mean, it's a very easy sipper.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is a pretty good finish. The nose on it is just incredible. I'm just getting like cherry, a little bit of like you get that ryeness, and you get like a corn sweetness, almost like vanilla. Even on the palate too, just straight cherry, almost like. I don't want to say vanilla. I'm trying to think of like a certain candy, but I'm getting like some sort of like candy note that I usually don't get from other ryes, but kind of like whatever.
It does have a candy note. I've been thinking of that myself. It's got a candy note. I just can't figure out what it was. Something from my childhood.
Yeah, I was for some reason I was kind of leaning more towards like maybe butterscotch, but like not as sweet. Yeah, like kind of like the end bite of like a butterscotch, when like you finally ate it all and it kind of like sits in your mouth a little bit. I kind of get that a little bit too, because kind of like what everyone was saying. I mean, for a 90 proof, I mean, it's not watered down at all. It's very, it's I don't want to say like full body, but you just get so many layers to this. Like as you keep going down, as I keep going down this glass, it's just picking up more and more.
I will tell you, this is probably dangerous. It's so good and smooth and easy, and it's almost that little fruitiness and sweetness to it. You can just chug this stuff almost.
I agree.
And the dried, I feel like the fruit that I'm getting from this, it's like a dried stone fruit, like almost like maybe plums or like something. It's not citrusy, but it's like it's like some sort of like sweet fruity notes of like dried raisin. Almost.
I think it's from the sherry, Brian, and I totally agree with you. The plums, and I think that's coming from the sherry with the butterscotch toffee notes balancing together, and the little spice hits at the back of
toffee. Thank you. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking of toffee. There you go. That's what it is. Because I get almost like it still has like that bourbon profile, so it kind of has like a like one of those notes from like a molasses type, kind of like the coffee ground type of thing. Like that's where I'm getting like the bite from the rye, and it combines well with that like dried stone fruit and a little bit of like vanilla from the corn that you're getting from the sweetness, and it just finishes it's really nice. I enjoy it.
Dangerously easy drinking for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Stephen, I want you to know, like I said, I'm not a rye person, but I would buy this.
Well,
oh yeah, I would buy this too.
But it's one of those whiskeys that, you know, when we can get people to try it, you know, they really enjoy it, and you know, we usually make the sale. But you know, just like there's so many different whiskeys out there, it's hard to try them all. So you know, but and you hate to buy it without knowing how they're going to be. So.
And you said this is only a 2 year?
Hard to get in our area.
It's 2 year.
2 years? Yeah.
Yes. No, it should be on the shelf. You know, it's available.
No. Yeah, and it's very modestly priced.
I am all over all 5 stores in my county, and I very seldom find even one bottle, and it's the same. I haven't seen the rye yet.
Okay.
You'll always see 2 on my shelf. All minor case, always 2. But I've never been without it.
You can ask your liquor store to get it because it's available in all 50 states.
Yeah.
Have you been to Virginia before, Stephen?
Now, Virginia, that's a whole nother story because of the control states. You know, I don't think minor cases listed in Virginia.
Yeah, I know it's not your fault. But if you would have told me that I was going to enjoy a 90 proof 2 year rye tonight, I would have called you crazy. But this is delicious. This is absolutely
the best one I've had ever.
And what Cayenne said was on point, that the sherry's there, but it's not overpowering. I still know I'm drinking rye with a touch of sherry to it, and the balance is really there. So
that's what I strive for as a distiller, and you'll see that later with the finished limited edition. Is I really try to balance and keep the integrity of the original spirit, and just kind of add to that dimension, the dimension of that. You know, I'm not trying to mask anything or make it all about the sherry, or later about the Amarone. You know, we want to keep it a rye, but just add some dimension to it that you wouldn't find in a normal rye. And for me, this is a very good summer whiskey because it is a little bit lighter. Mm-hmm. And when it's hot outside, you have a light fruity whiskey. It's really enjoyable.
There's 3 bottles left at my liquor store.
Yeah, it's very for the quality, it is very cheap. Yeah, are you talking of Binny's, Derek?
Yes.
Binny's always has it.
Yes.
Yeah, Binny's always,
yeah. Benny should have
tomorrow. Yeah, and tomorrow Binny's has this coupon day, so I'm going to be there.
Well, that's funny. I like that.
Yeah.
So, and then the 90.
I was going to say, Cayenne, I'm going to go get myself a bottle too. I'm a huge drinker, but at the same time, this is fabulously balanced.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's really catching on. We're starting to slowly grow in the United States with because it's a brand new, relatively new, 2016. We introduced the brand, so it's a new brand. But the amazing thing in Europe is it's catching on, and we're going to sell about 3 times what we sell in the States in Europe, and we're just in a very few countries in Europe. So we're excited about that. Maybe will spread this way as well. So.
You're not making me feel great in Virginia here.
Honestly, it's making me feel even worse about getting a bottle here now.
But it is out there. Like I said, it's available in all the states. Virginia, I can't say for sure.
I understand. Don't worry. I'm a resourceful guy. I will find it.
If you can get to Maryland.
I know what to do. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So
Ryan, do you have any?
That is definitely my go-to in the summertime. Yeah. You have any more questions about? Oh, just an interesting note on the name Minor Case. So Minor Case is the name of my great grandfather. His name was Minor Case Bean, and that was 3 surnames altogether that came out that way. And he was actually Jim Beam's first cousin, and they all had distilleries before Prohibition. Minor Case died just 150 days after Prohibition ended. So he wasn't able to go back into business or start back again. He was actually the oldest of that group, but he was a well-known and well-respected distiller in his day. And so when we introduced our whiskey, I wanted to honor him so that people would recognize that name again, that had been kind of lost to history.
Oh, that's a good story. I like that.
Yeah, that's a beautiful sentiment towards this bottle. It's really awesome.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, Grant, do you have any? Okay, so should we move on to the next one?
Yeah, so we'll move on to our Yellowstone. So Yellowstone Select is our standard Yellowstone. It's our the one that you'll go and you should be able to find on any shelf in any liquor store in the United States, even in Virginia. So
not these days.
Yeah, but we were not like it's kind of a little funny story. We
I don't know where it goes.
We had our Yellowstone out, and the show Yellowstone came on during the pandemic, and when it came on, it completely cleared the shelves of Yellowstone.
Yep.
And completely cleared all of our glass for the year, and we struggled to get glass. So we loaded in glass right before there became a scarcity for glass. So a lot of the big distilleries can't get glass, and small distilleries as well. But we have plenty of glass, so we struggled to get it out there. But we've every single state was out. The distributors were out of Yellowstone in December. Every single state. So that's a good thing and a bad thing. So, but
yes, Stephen, I want to ask you one thing.
Is this the 93 proof?
Good.
This is the 93 proof.
Okay, thank you.
And this is our Yellowstone Select. Now, we talked about the minor case at 90. And I paid close attention to the proof. And for this blend that we do for Yellowstone Select, and we try to keep that, the same blend and the consistent product, so we want you to be able to come back and buy this, a year or a month later, and it all be the same. But 93 is where I felt that this particular blend worked best. When we first introduced it, the sales team came back and they're like, it has to be 100 proof. Everybody wants 100 proof whiskey now. That was a few years ago, and it's like it has to be 100 proof. I said, okay, well, I'll take a look at it. So we retasted everything from 90 to a little bit over 100, and 93 was where it was at. And so we sent it back out and said, this is going to be 93 because you can open the bottle, pour it, and enjoy it neat. It's the perfect proof. Still stands up nicely in a cocktail or with ice or a little bit of water. So,
Stephen, I always wanted to ask you: are these recipes passed down, or you tweaked around your family recipe?
The recipes are passed. This particular one is passed down. So it's 75% corn, 13% rye, and 12% malt, which was kind of the Bean family recipe. I think our cousins do one very similar, if not the same. But that is what I was able to find some old notebooks from my grandfather, and he had, mash bills and some recipes and different things there and notes. So it was nice to be able to get that to confirm. And then I was also talking to Buddy Thompson. And Buddy Thompson was the last to own Glenmore, the family that owned Glenmore, who owned Yellowstone up until the 1992. It was sold from the Dant family in 1944. The Thompson family bought it, and Buddy passed away about a year and a half ago. But he told me that was the recipe, the mash bill that they had used as well. So we continue on that. It's a very traditional, classic Kentucky bourbon.
Yeah, and it's much creamier than for a 93 proof. It's a lot more creamier. It's a little more viscous than I would have expected for a 93 proof.
About to say it's got like a nice creamy kind of mouthfeel on like the roof of my mouth. Goes down super smooth, very little heat. Get that sweetness again from the last one, kind of like the toffee that Shay was talking about. Still get some of that. Not so much. I don't get any of the fruit notes anymore. I don't get any of that. I kind of get more of
I get like baked goods. I don't know what it is. It's not fruit.
Oh yeah.
It's like
like a bark type of like a flavor, like a chocolate bark, something like that. It's like
I'm interested. We talked about the minor case name. Where did the Yellowstone name come from?
Okay, so like I said, it was the Dant family. So J.W. Dant's oldest son, Bernard Dant, he started his distillery in 1856. It was called Cold Spring Distillery. And he was selling to a company called Taylor and Williams, and they were the distributor for him. And in 1872, when they opened the national park, they decided to brand the bourbon after the founding of the national park. And it quickly became their number one selling bourbon. And it's one of the few legacy bourbons that have been on the shelf continuously since 1872. You could get a prescription for Yellowstone during Prohibition. So it's never not been sold since 1872, 150 years. So that's a lot of bourbons can say that.
Damn.
And so I'm the bourbon snob amongst my friends, and my first interaction was with Yellowstone just a few weeks ago, and I was like, "Oh yeah, Yellowstone. I've never tried it. That's that one out of Wyoming." And so that's why I knew before we started tonight that you were from Lebanon, Kentucky, because immediately they were like, "Well, I guess Grant doesn't know as much as it. This says Lebanon, Kentucky right here." And I don't know why. I just assumed.
Yeah, we get a lot of that. People assuming that it's Wyoming because of it being Yellowstone, but it's always been made in Kentucky. Never been and not far. Hey Zach.
And how's it going, guys?
Oh yeah, and every dollar, I think every bottle sold, $1 goes to Yellowstone National Park.
Well, we said we don't donate money to the National Parks Conservation Association, which is a park advocacy group. They advocate for all the national parks, not just Yellowstone. So they do everything from mitigation and intrusion and lobbying Congress. It's a big organization, and they do a lot of good things, and we're very proud to be associated with them. And they're celebrating their 150th anniversary this year as well.
Oh, wow.
A lot of anniversaries.
So will you be releasing anything special later this year?
Yes, we will be releasing a 6-year-old our distillate bourbon.
Bottled in bond or?
Not bottled in bond, because we made so little that we had to combine seasons.
Oh, okay.
And even some a little bit older years. There's some 7-year-old in there, but it's a 6-year age stated. So Yellowstone Select, what we have right now, is a blend of our whiskey and some source whiskey as well. So, and I forgot to mention, it's a blend of 4 and 7-year-old barrels. So we take 4-year-old barrels and blend them with 7-year-old barrels, and that's what gives us this flavor profile.
The Select,
correct.
I don't keep a lot of 90 proof bourbons at home. There's no real incentive to stop drinking them. So
I hear that.
Yeah, so 93, it works really well with this one though, and it stands up nice in a cocktail if you want to make a cocktail, but it's also, like I said, just straight out of the bottle. The 93 is what works. Let me get my camera straight there.
Yeah, but for 93, it drinks really rich. I mean, to be honest, I'm having your bourbon after a really long time. The last was when I was at the distillery. You and me shared one.
Okay, that has been a while.
So
in a moment.
yeah, that's been a while. Yeah. So basically, I'm a rye fan. So
So I usually when I do some sort of tasting, I like to also put like a droplet or two of water just to see what else comes out of it.
Right.
And usually with like the 90 proofs, you kind of get worried about the watered down aspect of it, kind of on the lighter side. But I put 2 drops in this one, and it actually got a little bit sweeter, and I'm kind of getting more, getting a lot more different stuff in this that I'm like thoroughly enjoying. I mean, again, for a 90 proof, this is still pretty like, medium bodied and super smooth. And I just added these 2 drops just to see what it would do for like my palate. And it's still hitting pretty nice. I would say it's even got more of like a candy coatedness again, kind of like the shell of like a, not like an M&M, but they have like a shell of candy over it. I'm kind of getting like that little bit of like sweetness from it, like that corn that you were talking about before is just sitting real nice.
So you should have brought that up earlier.
Yeah, I just always like to do it just to see. I always like to do it just to see what it does for it. If you just lower the alcohol content just a little bit better, I kind of just like to see like, what else do I get from it rather than just like hitting it too, because you get a little bit used to the heat, but like what happens? You kind of like just simmer it down a little bit, see what else kind of like comes through in the way, and like it still drinks really nice even with that little bit of water to kind of like dilute it even more. Like it's nice. I really do enjoy this.
Yeah, I think it's good too. I just don't know if I would want a 93 proofer in my house though, but I know what you mean.
Another thing we've done for this year, we've got six different scenes on the label now. So the original had the waterfall, and we've got the Great Valley. We've got the pools and Old Faithful. There's 6 different scenes, so it's 6 different bottles and a new label as well.
I have the one with waterfall.
Okay.
Yeah.
For all those collectors out there, we have 6 scenes now. And I can't get one.
Now I'll have to go chasing for the 5 others. Yeah. No. So, okay, right. Zach, do you have any input? Zach here he's bartended at one of the biggest casinos here in Illinois.
Okay.
Yeah, I like it. With water opens, it sweetens up somehow for me. I feel more of the flavors. Without water, it's kind of just burning, but with water opens it up for me. Hey, is there corn in that or?
Yes, corn and rye and malt. It's 75% corn, 13% rye, and 12% malt.
Okay.
If you don't mind me asking, what's the usual content between the ratio of like corn and rye in your bottles?
We on all of these, they're all the same mash bill, 13% rye.
Gotcha.
We did do, and we are doing a wheated bourbon, and it is 28% wheat, 12% malt, and 60% corn. Now that will come out. It's probably about 3 years away, and we don't do a lot. We do about 100 barrels a year.
If you don't mind me asking, what kind of barrels are you storing them in? Is it going to be like oak or?
Well, bourbon, you have to use new charred oak barrels, but we use an American white oak. We toast the barrel, and then we do a number 3 char on top. And
cool.
When you toast the barrel, you get you start to develop flavors in that wood.
You get that molasses hint into it.
Right. Yeah, there are a lot of different things you can get depending on the toast level, and then we do a quick char over the top.
So what do you guys do? Do you guys do a quick char over the top, or do you kind of let it sit a little bit more to see what more you can get out of it?
You have to do, bourbon has to be charred. So we couldn't do just the toast. So we toast and then char.
Okay.
Now
yeah, sorry. I meant to say like for like the barrel, like do you guys usually do like same every time, or do you char a little bit more? Just
we do the same, mainly for consistency. Like for when we do our select, we want to keep it consistent. Maybe down the road we'll do some more, with different chars and different different toast levels and char combinations.
Whatever you guys are doing, it's absolutely working. I am huge on like barrel presence when it comes to like bourbons and whiskeys and different stuff like that. And you can usually kind of like taste it when it comes through, when you get like the different flavors of like, you can get like an oak or vanilla or like molasses or like the kind of candies. Like what you guys are doing with the barrel, it's sitting pretty. Like it's really good. Like you guys are doing an awesome job.
Well, thank you.
Well, whatever you're doing,
should we move on to the barrel pick?
Yeah, let's move on to the barrel pick. So, we were talking about proofs, the 90, 93, but the barrel picks, we allow the people who come to our distillery to choose between 3 different proofs. So we have 102, 109, and 115 proof. We proof them out. So we're not telling them, just put a couple drops of water and it might be around that proof or whatever. We actually proof the samples out so they taste what they're getting. And it's amazing how the proof will influence that barrel. Some barrels really shine at 102 and some are at 115. We have a lot of people who come in, most people who come in to pick a barrel are thinking they're coming in for a higher proof. But
is it the 109?
It is 109. Yeah.
Yes.
And so that is what they chose. They had the opportunity to choose between 102, 109, and 115. But they chose the 109. So that's where that particular barrel shined.
Yeah, so this was the bottle I went to go grab. This was the one where I was so smart and I decided I thought it was from Wyoming. But yeah, so this one's a 115 versus the 109. So that's interesting that you say that. And then I noticed it's a single barrel number like 7,699,000. How many barrels are you producing out of there? Probably not 7 million, I don't think, but
I don't know where that would say that on there.
It's a single barrel number 7,699,932, something like that.
Oh yeah, 180. I think they got that. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I'm assuming they didn't start at 1 and they're counting up.
Right.
Just an identifier.
Yes. We produce at the distillery about 10 barrels a day.
Oh, okay.
Now, we started out, when we first started, we were producing a barrel a day. But we're up to 10.
Okay.
And that wouldn't be barrel number. Yeah, that was not. Yeah, I'll talk to them about that because it's not 1,800,000 barrels. We only have, about.
So now I know why we don't get it here. You
about 7,000 barrels all total. So,
yeah.
At 10 barrels a day, that's why we don't have it here in West Tennessee.
That was one hell of a barrel program.
Yeah, yeah, really.
I would love to see the land you're saving that on. The nose on this is very interesting. It's very different than the other ones.
So
is this all 7 years, Steve?
This is a 7-year.
Yeah. Okay. I
can tell the differences in this between the other. Same mash bill, you said, right?
It's the same mash bill.
Same mash bill.
But this is just one barrel, where the other one was a blend of,
no, that's not the one.
30 to 40 barrels, and 4 and 7, where this is just a 7. So you'll find that this has more intense flavors of particular flavors that you wouldn't find in the blend, but they're more intense in the single barrels.
You definitely pick up an oak and caramel on the nose right off.
You really do.
Yeah, but the oak is very fragrant. It's really nice.
It's not overpowering, but you can pick it up.
Yeah. And the finish on this is.
Go ahead.
Oh, the finish is phenomenal. I mean,
yes, nice.
I get the warm Kentucky. I mean, here you get that hug. Really.
Now that I agree.
I don't know if it's because of like what I've been drinking already, but like I feel like this doesn't have as much heat as like other ones do, and I really like that actually. It doesn't give me like a really huge burn on my chest. It really lets me enjoy the aftertaste, where I'm not like having dragon's breath at the end. Like this sits really nice and pretty because, like Steve was saying, I got a lot of oak and kind of like caramel from the nose, and then tasting it, you get those notes too, and like it's kind of like fluffy on the tongue, and it sits. I mean, I think I like this. So far, I like this one better than most on like the aftertaste. So I feel like after I take that sip, it sits on the tongue a little bit more, and while I'm going like that, I'm just kind of like getting more and more different like notes from it.
I agree.
It has a dry fruit. It has a dry fruit to it as well. I think a lot, almost like the sherry that you had in the first one.
Stewed dry fruit. It's like a dry fruit stew.
Yeah,
it's stewed dry fruit. And it has. It's quintessential.
It's almost like.
And it's oily.
It's almost like
it is. It is sticking to. It's like beating up on my glass. It's really
the legs on this thing are like the slowest. It's almost like molasses going down the side.
Yeah, literally.
I mean, it's very.
It's borrowing from the great Jim Murray. This has long legs like a runway model.
You don't want to get in trouble now.
Yeah, I'm not going to.
I don't even know what you're allowed to say anymore. You just can't say anything.
I'll
hurt someone's feelings somewhere.
I'll plead the fifth on that one.
There you go.
Right.
They were.
And the
I'm in Tampa now, and they have this big Gasparilla festival this weekend. And it's all about the pirates. And as I'm, are people upset about pirates now because pirates really weren't great people,
No.
But
it's like it's just how much can we take things sometimes. I think it's people just need to relax.
I'm telling you, drink more bourbon.
Yeah.
They need some minor case.
Yes. Just send them some samples, they'll be fine.
That's right.
I want to complain. Byron's samples are way larger than mine.
I feel like most of my sample leaked out before I got here. I may need another one.
I'll send it to you.
With this barrel one, I want some samples of this.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh no, I like this one a lot.
I do too.
Yeah,
Brian, is your glass a tiny Glencairn? Do you have a small one? Is that what that is?
Oh yeah, sorry. So my glass is more
That's
of
the mini.
The mini.
That's why it makes it look like you have so much.
That's why it looks like he's got like full pores.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, guys. I mean, you guys are thinking like an ounce. I'm on 5 right now. It's fine. I'm good.
So now
it's just a fancier version is all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So,
I always have a few of these because so what I'm like washing it down with, I'm also a big craft beer guy, and we always do blind tastings, and we kind of, for lesser terms, like to void out the bullshit kind of like rumors of what's popping and what's not. So we do blind tastings to kind of like see where things go. So I have like a few of these to kind of like, people get a good taste of it. We usually get about 5-10 people when we do like these random tastings, and we'll do the same thing with bourbon. So like, for instance, we'll have we go to have this corn blind tasting for like bourbon, and I'll have like some Weller, different stuff like that, just to see, and I'll give like the smaller, less known bourbons like a chance, and then like 9 times out of 10 they usually outlast more of the name brand ones. So I have a few of these, so we can kind of like do like like a bunch of cool stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. I like doing it. Blind tastings are always fun, and we print out sheets and do all that stuff too.
They always do.
Brian here is a beer buyer.
Yeah, I definitely not as much now because I've lost a considerable amount of weight like since the pandemic. I'm like 120, so I haven't been drinking as much.
So yeah, I have the opposite problem, but I live in Illinois. Weller is a controlled substance here.
Yeah, it really is.
Well, the thing was, I was I'm in Chicago. I'm in Chicago as well, like on the northwest side, and
Wait! You can find Weller?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I was gonna ask the same too, Derek.
I need to holler at you.
I mean, at least for like just. I'm not gonna carry that conversation on too long, but like I'm not as big a fan on like the bigger names, just because I feel like there is stuff kind of like this where you find hidden gems. And I would much rather pay money to something that I feel like put more work into it than something that kind of just hit a hype because of a name. And granted, it's not bad in any way. I don't want to say that, but I do enjoy finding hidden gems more than anything because I'd rather spend $30 easily that I can find something easily and something that tastes this good rather than something I got to pay maybe an extra 20 because of the name and then not find it ever and have to know someone that possibly knows someone. So
I totally agree with the sentiment, by the way. I had participated in Repeal Day Expo. It was sometime recently, and I got samples through the mail of some very good stuff that I really enjoyed. So, so I do understand what you mean by that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I just feel like it's kind of a necessity. I mean, if they're able to get their bourbon out, they're clearly doing something right where they're able to at least put it on a Benny shelf or other places. So I'm like, if it's there, I might as well give it a go. Worst case scenario, I make cocktails or something out of it, and then that's what ends up happening.
I have a secret to share, by the way. I've never had Stag Junior, and I've never had Weller because they don't live where I live.
Where are you in Illinois, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, I live in Chicago, right near Hyde Park.
Brian, I'm northwest, but I'm far northwest. I'm Wisconsin.
Okay, there you go.
So basically,
I don't know. I mean, Grant knows it. I have no love lost for wheaters. I hate wheaters.
No, I started in this business, if you will, with Maker's Mark, and I have to tell you, if I didn't start there, I don't know if I'd be where I am now. So let's just say I think it's a great way to start.
I agree with you, Derek, and Maker's Mark is where I started as well.
Yeah.
I get a bad headache after wheated bourbons. I don't know why. Maybe I'm gluten in. Yeah.
Stephen, I got a question about Yellowstone.
Yes.
Okay, so these picks, do they pick them blind? You said they get to choose from the proofs. Do they do that blind or do they do that?
No, what we do is we'll have 3 different barrels at 3 different proofs at the 109, 102, 109, or 115. So there's 9 samples. So we'll taste the 3 barrels at 102, pick out the best of that, what they like out of there, the 109 and the 115, and then compare, what is the overall best. And, surprisingly, the 102 comes up occasionally. Usually it's the 109 or the 115, but 109 and 115 are about evenly split.
So I just tried my 115, just a little splash after the 109. I like the 109 actually considerably better than this batch of kind of not even close. This is like the aroma's a lot stronger, but the flavor, it's almost like hitting me over the head, where the 109 was a lot of flavor, that good hug at the end, like you said.
Right.
Cayenne, yeah.
And of course, a lot of that goes through who's picking the barrels as well, and what they're looking for.
Yeah.
And when you find somebody, when you find a liquor store or something where the barrel picks are something that you're in tune with, then that's something that you follow through, because someone has the same likes the same profiles that you do.
Hey Zach, did you
How many barrels do you do a year? I mean, how many barrel picks do you allow each year? Do you have a certain number, quotas?
Yeah, we'll do about 400 barrels this year.
400, and how quickly does that sell?
Immediately, as soon as we open it up, it's sold.
So you got to get on a waiting list, or
yeah, it's allocated per state. Depending on how much Yellowstone they sell in that state, and then it's immediate. They're pretty much immediately gone when they come up.
So Wyoming's probably ahead.
Minor case of Virginia, please.
And Benny's does several barrel picks with us a year, though.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, I picked a couple of bennies. Yeah.
Yeah. So you should be able to get the barrel picks at Benny.
So when you see one that comes in from a Sparky's in Atoka, Tennessee, just remember, we don't see it here.
We sell some barrels in Tennessee. I don't know about the Memphis. How much in Memphis area?
Yeah.
I know Knoxville.
Yeah, we're on
we have.
We're on one of those outlying, distributing things that just, we get a lot of stuff.
Tennessee's a strange state because it's divided into 3 different areas, and you have 3 different distributors in those areas. So one distributor can't, go into the other area. So like in Tennessee, we have 3 different distributors for the state.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone tried this already, but putting a splash or 2 of the water in this again opens up some crazy notes, and really.
Which one are you talking of?
I'm doing it for each one, but I'm doing it for the 109 proof, the barrel pick.
Okay, 109. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's, man, every time I push I've never had a consistent where you put a little dash of water and it still opens up notes and it kills off that burn. And it's just, oh my God, it's just so sweet.
I liked it, by the way. It's pretty good.
Yeah, this is really good.
Yeah.
And now to the finale.
Yeah, so I'm proud of our barrel picks, and when you see that label, it's usually a pretty great whiskey inside it, because I think the people come and do the picks. I think that the being able to pick those proofs really help people tune in to the barrel, because a lot of places, not knocking on other distilleries, but they'll come in and they'll tell people, well, put a couple drops of water in, and then they put it in at a proof that is not anything close to what the people were tasting at. So it's a lot harder for people to hone into what they're actually picking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll go on to the finale. So each year we do a limited edition. It's just different things that I like to try, and if something works, then we put it out. And so this year, or 2021, was finished in Amarone Cask.
Now that I can smell.
Is an Italian red wine where they partially dehydrate the grapes and then ferment them. So it's really rich.
Yeah, Amarone is my go-to wine.
That's your
I love Amarone. Anything from Valpolicella is my favorite. I mean, Amarone and Ripasso, and
You can pick that up in a
This is hands
second.
down delicious.
Yeah, I'm getting a smoke, almost like a peated smokiness.
Yeah, thank you.
I am picking that up too, and I was like, I thought maybe I had a little scotch earlier, and I'm like, oh, it's come back on me again. Because I was smelling.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
I'm getting leather.
Yeah. Oh no, there is. There is a scotch to this. There's something.
Yeah.
Scotchy in this.
There's a peated like smell here.
It's fine. I'm fine with it. Okay.
Man, I really like this a lot.
Okay.
I'm getting leather.
And it's limited. It's limited, so there's no possible way I'll ever find this ever again. So I get to taste this one time.
There's always a possibility.
It depends on how much money I want to shell out.
Well, no, there's some. Occasionally, you see things in the wild. Yellowstone the limited editions used to sit on the shelf a little bit longer than most releases. In the past couple of years, though, they have disappeared more rapidly.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting more leather on this. The sweetness is a little bit more hidden. I get like a combination of like leather and also like a dried. I'm getting like kind of like the dried grapes you were talking about. I'm getting a little bit of like that sweetness to it, but I'm getting also like a stone fruit dried sweetness. Not like plums like before, but
in my opinion, this is very mouth drying to me.
Yeah, exactly. It has that mouth dry feel like a wine.
And I don't want to say
this is something I would enjoy with a cigar.
But I don't know if this drying effect is a friend of mine.
Okay.
I like it.
That's why
something I would smoke with a cigar.
First and last.
Drink with a cigar.
Oh yeah.
Rye.
Smoke this with the cigar.
Oh yeah.
Stephen, what is the age on this one? I've always wanted to ask you. What is the age on this one?
This is also 7 years.
Oh, this is 7. Okay, it drinks more older.
Yeah. The Amarone helps with that. There's a little bit of 9 in, but just a minor amount. Now last year the 20 had more 9-year in it.
So I'm super curious, Stephen, if it's okay for you. What winery do you work with in Italy to get the Amarones? The Amarone casks, rather.
Those came through a broker. So honestly, I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, thank you.
Earlier, you mentioned a glass shortage that screwed everybody up. And then later, you were talking about new charred oak barrels. How worried is the bourbon industry about the supply of oak with all the crazy supply issues that's going on right now? It's like in years past, people were able to get super specific about, I want this white oak, Arkansas, from this plot of land right over there, where that's just not a thing anymore. Like how concerned is the bourbon industry about that?
Well, I've talked to Brad Boswell, who owns Independent State. They've been making bourbon barrels for quite a while, and the age of the tree is about 70 years old. The age of the oak that they use
for a barrel to get the proper logs.
So they're continuously replanting as we go.
Yep.
And they don't really see, bar some crazy, disease or something, a shortage of the oak. Like as you said, there might be from different areas, but Indiana, Missouri are where a lot of the oak come from.
Is that what you meant? Those 70 years is the optimal age for a tree to be harvested?
That is what that's what they use now as the
okay.
I would love to go back, a couple hundred years ago or 150 years ago and ask, my great grandfather, what?
Sure.
Yeah, because J.W. Dant went out and he picked his own trees. He had his own cooperage, and I think that's kind of a lost in a lot of the modern day whiskeys. But
what you're saying right now, though, is amazing. You're talking about recipes that have been passed on from your previous generations for decades and decades and decades, and now you're talking about a 70-year-old tree that is used to make the recipes.
Right.
Craft, man, that is cool. That's
and we're talking about a 70-year-old tree like it's a sapling. Yeah. I mean, it's like cool. like nothing. 70 years, but they are planting them. There was a barrel shortage in about 2000 and about 12. There was a real heavy right after the 2008 crash, and what happened was it wasn't actually a shortage of wood there was a shortage of wood, but not of trees. What happened was when you had the housing market crash and all the crash of 2008, people stopped harvesting them. And it's kind of like the supply chain now. The distilleries didn't stock up, keep their inventories up. They just used them down. And then a lot of the people who harvest the trees were small, like father-son teams who found other work. And so they had a hard time getting the trees out of the forest into the staves. And then, at the same time, the barrel companies were letting their, barrels, the stave stocks dwindle down and the hardwoods, not only for barrels, but for oak flooring and all that, the demand dropped off. So these people went and found other jobs. But at that same time that was happening, bourbon started spiking. So all of a sudden, everybody started adding more and more barrels. So there was a severe barrel shortage for about 4 years. And now, there's tons of barrels, and the price of the barrels has come back down. They had gone from maybe $125 up to $225. So they're back down now.
So the answer is that producers may not be as selective as they may have once been, but the folks supplying those barrels aren't worried about you not being able to have the product that you need.
Correct.
That is good to hear.
Yeah. And it is sustainable because, in tree harvesting, 70 years is a crop. It's not a unusual amount. I think, Southern pine is probably 35 years, that they like International Harvester and things used or not in International Paper and the things that they harvest for the
5 years is closer, but you're pretty close.
Stephen, did you say that this limited edition is a blend with like something else? You brought something else outside in?
No. It's not. This is 7-year-old. Oh, as far as bourbons, yes, because we wouldn't have enough 7-year-old to
right. Okay.
Right. So yes, it is. But then it's finished in the Amarone cask. So
it's just the Amarone cask is the only outside. Because I'm getting from this, I feel the same way about this that I feel about Dickel. Like I took the first sip and I was like, I don't know if I like this as much. By the time I got the end of it, I was like, this is delicious. This is really good. I don't know if it was just so different that I was just thrown off at first or not. But by the end, I'm like, I could really get down on this. This is good.
Yeah, but this does not taste like Dickel at all.
I agree with Grant.
Well,
I'm not saying it tastes like
no.
No, because that's
I was going to ignore the Dickel part.
But, I feel the same way. And I felt like because whenever I switch from a bourbon to a George Dickel, I'm always like thrown off a little bit. But by the end of that glass of George Dickel, I feel good about it. But whereas this, I felt the same way. Just that transition was weird, but it's wonderful.
Well, bourbons, are specific, and people like certain bourbons, and they don't particularly like other bourbons. They're more favorable to some. And the limited edition is generally like that. And I always say that I make what I like. And I hope there's enough people out there to support what I like. And so far it's worked. So,
I to be very honest, This is the only other bourbon from your distillery I have 2 bottles of. And I'm planning to get more. That's why I'm driving down to your distillery sometimes in February, hopefully, with the hope to find one more.
We may or may not have it. I don't know. They feed us a little bit here and there, but it is getting really scarce because it was released last year in August. So
how many bottles did you release of 2021?
We released about 20,000 bottles of it this year.
Well, that's a lot. Okay,
it is
compared
a lot
to what you've done in the past years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Compared to what you've done, I mean, your
2015 was just under 8,000 bottles.
The last year was 7,500, right? The 2020.
Yeah.
The Armagnac finish.
So and this coming year is going to be probably double what we did last year.
Wow. No, this is worth bunkering.
Yes.
This is bunker worth whiskey.
It will with Fred Minnick just did his whole thing and of his top 100, and this was number 30. So
number 30. Okay.
I'll take that.
Yeah, I would have rated it a little higher.
Off bottle. This bottle is a little bit more square. If I'm looking for this.
Yeah. This is squared off. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
okay.
so can we get a little insight on what you have planned for 2022 on the LE edition?
All I can say is
maybe just a little.
It is finished. It's out of the finishing barrel, in stainless, waiting to be bottled. And
what was the barrel?
And it is another Italian wine.
Another Italian wine.
Okay.
Is it a different Italian wine?
It is.
Or is
different.
Was it a dessert?
I'm not. I take the fifth.
I'm hoping.
Steve, I have a question. Do you have plans of barrel strength rye ever in mind for minor case? Are you planning to go up on strength?
Not right now. Now, the rye whiskey we use in minor case is MGP.
Oh, really?
But it is not their standard 95%, 95% rye. It's an unusual rye that they don't make a lot of.
Yeah, I haven't ever tasted anything like this from them.
And so
their rye.
Yeah. So they acquired Luxco, who was our partner. So they're now part of us, or we're part of them. However, and so we talked about doing a minor case rye, just a straight rye, but it would be a 51% rye. So we'll see what happens with that.
Did you say that Luxco is owned now by MGP?
Correct.
Yeah, Luxco is owned by MGP. Yeah,
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, but it's kind of like the tail wagging the dog, because Luxco is the marketing and sales and distribution part of MGP. So they kind of control all that. And MGP is, this massive kind of conglomerate that does, everything from soy proteins for like Impossible burgers and things like that to flavorings. And then they own this big distillery as well. So they do multiple different things. But so Luxco has focused that distillery part and become the kind of the focus for the distilled spirits part of MGP.
So everybody on this call gets first dibs at the 2022, right? Because I'm in.
Yes. I like the way you say, Grant.
I was thinking the same thing, but I was just like,
thank you, Grant.
You get a limited edition. You get a limited edition.
Oh my goodness!
I will say, there's more out there. There'll be double the amount that we had last year, and so it will be out there. And it should hang around for a little bit when it comes out.
I will
I mean, I would settle for a pint.
I will say I'm kind of crossing my fingers that the wine barrels are possibly a Zinfandel, just because those are sweeter and I like the grape taste more. Because a Zinfandel barrel with this kind of, I mean, it would sit nice and pretty.
So I have another question for you, Steve. How do you select what barrels to go with for your limited edition?
You know, we go through barrel brokers. So I get samples of what they have, what we have available, and then basically I go to a liquor store and buy whatever wine that they have in the barrels and start tasting, you know, and saying, okay, this is going to work with our bourbon. This is not going to work with our bourbon. And then that's how we start to proceed. And then we may or may not get a sample barrel in and fill it and then see how that works out.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so Steve, how far you reached with the experimentation? You know, the one that you have at your distillery with the smaller barrels. Have you you plan to release those?
We release those only at the distillery.
Only at the distillery, okay.
Right, and Kentucky liquor stores can also buy them, just because we're required by law to allow them to buy them. You know, so if we have something in the gift shop, we also have to allow the liquor stores to buy them. So we allow Kentucky liquor stores to buy them, but we don't have a lot, and so we try to keep them mostly at the distillery.
He has this nice kind of a wagon hitch to his distillery where he has he's doing a bunch of experiments there with different barrels, really smaller barrels.
They're 15-gallon barrels, and they
15-gallon,
really, really nicely. We tried the 25s. I didn't like what was coming out of the 25s, but the 15s, and we have a short container with double. It's opened on both sides, so we get a lot of airflow through that container, and then we have ricks in the container, and just so happens that those 15-gallon barrels in that container work really, really well. And I can get a pretty finished product in about 3 years that tastes like about a 5 or 6 year old whiskey.
Oh wow!
It has to be at least 18 to 20 months old before it even start to get that. You get rid of that toothpicky oak, you know, that new oak taste.
That new oak flavor. Green apple.
Right. And those and what I did with that experimental, what he's talking about is I did different things that I wanted to try. Like we did caramel malt, and we did the original wheated bourbon, the 28% wheat in that small barrel to see how it turned out. Turned out really nice, so we decided, okay, we're going to put this into production. I love caramel malt. One of the best things I think that ever came out of the distillery was a chocolate malt that we did. And it was just like you had a sip of bourbon and a piece of like 80% dark chocolate. It was absolutely fantastic. So, you know, then we've done some, you know, applewood smoked malt. I'm not a big fan of like of smoke, but some of the American smoke is more like campfire smoke, and so I like some
more of an ashy flavor.
Right.
All I know is when I come down there in Kentucky, I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to go through there.
Yeah, please come by, and we taste out of the barrels in that little warehouse, so you'll be able to try some of it. We do 100% malted rye, which is one of the favorites out of there, which is really difficult. It's kind of a pain to make, actually, 100% malted rye. But we do, you know, in those small barrels, I've done, you know, malted rye. So we've done 75% corn, 13% malted rye to see how the malting of the rye would change the flavor of the bourbon. We've done caramel malts, malted wheat. So just all the different things just to try to see how, bourbon has very strict controls over what we can do. It has to be grain, water, and the barrel, and that's it. No added extra flavors or anything like that. So we have to, if we get flavors, it's through the toasting of the grains and the way the grains are made, right, or the corn or things like that.
Yeah.
Because actually, when it comes down to it, this one, finished in cask, is no longer a bourbon. It's as far as the TTB goes, this is a distilled spirit specialty, which means that it cannot have an age statement, and it's not considered bourbon. It's bourbon finished in, Amarone Cask.
Delicious.
So Zach, do you have anything?
You're on mute.
Zach, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I really like the Yellowstone. It's my favorite. I'm kind of tired. I'm sorry, guys. I worked long day today. That's my favorite. It seems like it has like a lot of flavor, but it's also like smooth. It's not. I really kind of lost for words. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Which one was your favorite?
Right.
The Yellowstone 109 proof.
The 109.
Oh, 109. Okay.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, one is my favorite too.
It's perfect. It's either straight or a drop of water opens it up more, but it's really, really good.
Yeah.
I like the Amarone by far the best. Those were my favorites, and I thought they were amazing. It was an honor tasting with you, so thank you very much.
No, thanks for y'all coming out and enjoying the whiskeys with me. For that Amarone, it kind of reminds me of some of the older whiskeys I've tasted from like the 70s that have kind of those fruity notes, those real deep fruity notes in there. And so that's when I drink the Amarone, it kind of reminds me of Yellowstone from the 60s or 70s and some of those whiskeys from then.
I mean, I'm fairly young, so I didn't get like the opportunity to try that. But like I was saying before, like the earlier one had kind of like a dry plum kind of thing, but I still get like heavy stone fruit in this. I just can't like depict which one, but it's still it's pretty. And like I said, I always put a few drops of water and added just 2 on there, so you really open up the notes for that fruit and a little bit of like that oakiness. It's really good. It really is good. But for my favorite, I still say the 109. That 109 was just like perfect.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Next level.
Yeah,
I had 2 favorites. I like the 109 and that rye. That rye was just fantastic for a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
I mean, the flavor for a 2-year-old, I have never had a 2-year-old that was just had that much flavor and depth. Usually they're very.
And I looked it up. Looks like that one retails for about $40. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I would buy it.
And this Saturday it's going to be less.
Damn
I'm going to stock up on.
I wanted to ask you guys: are you guys planning on making? There's like a new trend, like making pretty much it's almost like a mixed drink. Like I recently have like an old fashioned. I think it's made by Buffalo Trace. Are you guys thinking of making this kind of cocktail? Because it seems like it's a pretty good idea.
We aren't. I think Luxco does. Our partner.
Okay.
They make a cocktail. I like to say, our family has been making bourbon for 225 years. And we make bourbon. That's what we do. And, sometimes it's in fashion. Sometimes it's not in fashion, but we make bourbon. So, and we'll continue to make bourbon, hopefully for another 225 years.
We'll keep drinking bourbon for another whatever years we'll live.
I'm not stopping drinking this for a while. So.
Alexa, stop.
Yeah, but I know Luxco, our parent company, does. They can do more of the fad things, and the canned cocktails or the seltzer waters and things like that. And that's fine. But we have a very, very narrow product line. We do the minor case rye. We do Yellowstone bourbon with the limited edition, our select, and our barrel picks. And then I do a gin because my background is in horticulture, and we have a lot of plants around the distillery, and I just did a gin for a fun project. But we are definitely rye and bourbon centric.
Oh, that's interesting. Is the gin in all 50 states too? Because
the gin is not in all 50 states. It is in Illinois.
How about in Illinois? Okay,
it is in Illinois. It's not in Virginia. And I'm not sure about Tennessee.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, and the
botanic Kentucky, we would get that.
And the botanicals for their gin is grown in their backyard.
Yeah, we have 5 of them that are just grow naturally around the 15 acres that we have. So we get like black cherry and honeysuckle that we gather, and we dehydrate, and then we use in our gin. Then we have actually a gin garden where we grow things as well. So like lemongrass and different things. So. Yeah, but it is not. It's definitely an American, what I call a New World gin, where it is more citrus and floral. The juniper is definitely there because that's what by law you have to do with gin. But it's very citrus and very floral on the nose. We use a unique distilling process, which separates